was right in that sort of twilight zone. And a black pit opened up underneath me, and I felt myself starting to get pulled down into it, and I didn't want to go. Like, it was cold and dark and black and bottomless, and I just knew, like, do not go down there. I was getting pulled down into it, and right at that moment, my father, who passed away in 2012, my father, a sort of aneurysm, which is a sort of ballooning in the blood vessel, in the artery, in my pancreatic artery, and out of the blue, it was a congenital thing. Like, apparently it developed during my whole life. It was just from a structural problem, and one beautiful June afternoon last year, it burst, and I just felt this pain shoot through my stomach. I was like, damn, what is that? And within a few minutes, I couldn't stand up, and within about 10 minutes, I was started to go blind. And my wife called the ambulance, and those guys got there, and I was tanking really fast, and the hospital is an hour away. And by a miracle, I don't even think the doctors understand it, but by a miracle, I was still alive when I got to the hospital. I lost 90% of my blood into my abdomen. I didn't know I was dying, but I was dying, and I was right in that sort of twilight zone. And a black pit opened up underneath me, and I felt myself starting to get pulled down into it, and I didn't want to go. Like, it was cold and dark and black and bottomless, and I just knew, like, do not go down there. I was getting pulled down into it, and right at that moment, my father, who passed away in 2012, my father sort of appeared next to me and started trying to communicate with me and comforting me. And I sort of waved him away, and the last thing I remember saying to the doctor, I was sort of losing consciousness, and the last thing I said to the doctor was, "You're losing me right now. You got to hurry." He was trying to he'd cut my neck open. He was trying to put a line into my neck to, they pumped 10 units of blood into me, and that's what brought me back. It was really close.
Wow. When you say you felt you were sinking into a pit, like, were you seeing this?
I mean, your perceptions are very weird because very little oxygen in the brain. I had a hemoglobin count of 1.2. If you're a doctor, you know what that is. It's almost unheard of. And so I just felt this pit underneath me, and it was pulling me into it, and I didn't want to go.
And you can see a pit?
Again, see/feel, your perceptions are very weird when you're like that. And then my father also was sort of floating above me. He was a presence. I don't know if seeing him is quite the word. It's another perception.
Wow.
Yeah.
So coming out of that, once you regained your health, you must have had an incredible newfound appreciation for all the people in your life and just everything.
It was a long path. I'm a really healthy guy. Later, the doctor said, I was a marathon runner when I was young, and I don't drink. I'm athletic, and I use my body pretty vigorously. And he said, that saved your life. Like, you didn't have a heart attack. Like, you owe your life to that. And,
wow.
But the next morning, I didn't know that I'd almost died. I had no idea. I have two little girls. I have a 4-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, and they're the most precious things to me. I can't even describe it, obviously. And the fact that they almost lost their dad was just devastating when the ICU nurse came in and said, "How are you doing, Mr. Junger? You're one lucky guy. You almost died yesterday." I had no idea. And then she came back an hour later, and she said, "How are you doing?" And I said, physically, I was throwing up blood. I was not doing very well physically, but I said I was. I said, but I'm really struggling with what you told me. And it's really terrifying. I didn't know. And I said, I almost died in my own driveway in front of my family, and I didn't even know. And I said, I keep thinking about it. I can't stop. And she said, one of the wisest things I've.
You should see if someone will do a therapeutic DMT trip with you.
I've heard about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll do it. They were doing it out of University of New Mexico. Rick Strassman was doing it, and he had full federal approval for these studies. And there was a book called DMT, the Spirit Molecule, that he wrote about the experience of taking these people and doing an IV drip, dimethyltryptamine, but they all had these insanely profound experiences that stayed with them for, depending on the person, but for long periods of time afterwards, and profoundly changed their lives.
Well, an endogenous form of DMT is released in the brain of dying people. And
Yeah.
maybe he wrote about that. But
they speculated on it. See, so what the problem was for the longest time is the pineal gland, and the pineal gland is what ancients used to call the seat of the soul, and it's this small gland that they think in reptiles it actually has a retina and a cornea, and I think even a lens. It literally is a third eye. Yeah, Google that. I think the pineal gland in reptiles has it definitely has a retina, I believe, and I think it has a lens. But it's like the third eye, the concept of the third eye, it actually is an eye in some strange way. And it also, just recently they confirmed, here we go, the pineal complex of reptiles is a morphologically and functionally connected set of organs. It originates in an evagination of the roof of the, oh boy, all these words. It's formed by two structures, the pineal organ and the parietal eye, parietal eye, parietal.
Yeah.
Both the pineal gland and the parietal eye are photosensitive.
Wow.
Yeah, it actually, go there, which reptile has a third eye? Click that. So there literally are, well, anyway, point is, this has always been thought of as the third eye. If you look at Eastern mysticism, and whenever people are enlightened or depicted, they're depicted with that third eye.
Right.
And this organ, the Cottonwood Research Foundation was the first group that they actually discovered that for sure the pineal gland does produce DMT in living rats, because before they knew that it was produced by the liver and the lungs, and there was a lot of anecdotal evidence that pointed to the pineal gland, but they couldn't prove it because you'd have to actually cut into someone's head.
Right.
There was a lot of problems just based on the the structure of the brain and getting in there. But through this Cottonwood Research Foundation, which was working on different DMT studies, so they don't know why and they don't know what it is, but they think that this is also responsible for dreams.
Right.
They think it's responsible for some of the insane visuals and weird things you experience in dreams, but they also, the really spiritual, the people that are like willing to go way out on a limb, think it's a chemical doorway to the afterlife.
Well, let me tell you, I'd had a pain in my abdomen for a year that I ignored, and
How bad was the pain?
It was, I could tolerate it, which to me meant, okay, well, if you can bear it, then it's not going to kill you. You know what I mean?
Problems with being a tough guy.
And the corollary to that is, if you can't bear it, you should learn to bear it, because you know what I mean? So toughness will kill you.
Yeah.
If it doesn't save you, it will kill you. And so it just sort of came and went right in the area where the bleed happened. And but I ignored it. And then it kind of stopped happening for a month or so. And I had a dream right around dawn. And my family and I, we all sleep in the same bed. It's not even a bed. It's a like pad on the floor. And so I woke up. I was woken up around 6 a.m. by this dream. And the dream was that I died. And I died unnecessarily. I made a mistake. I just screwed up. And I'd crossed over. And now I'm dead. And I'm looking back at my family, and they're grieving. And they're my family that I love more than anything, more than I could imagine loving something. I love them, And I can't go back because I've crossed over. And I'm just thinking, you stupid asshole, you screwed up, and now you're dead, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I woke up with a start. I was like, oh, thank God I'm not dead. I'm alive. And here's my daughter was right next to me. I put my arm around her. I was like, oh, thank God. About 36 hours later, I was dying.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think that was your body trying to tell you, hey, man, this shit's about to blow?
Listen, I mean, for a year, my body tried to tell me with pain that something was wrong, and I ignored it. And then 36 hours left to go, it sent me a dream. And on the morning of the day that it happened, we live partly in New York City and partly in a really remote area at the end of a long dead-end dirt road in the woods, and it gets overgrown, right? And the fire department said, listen, you got to clear that because we can't get trucks in there. You're going to have to clear that dirt road. It's a small town. Everyone knows each other. It's like, listen, clear that stuff. And that morning, I'd been meaning to do this for 2 years, right? I was an arborist for a long time. I know I've used chainsaws my whole life. Like, I do all that work myself. And I'd been meaning to do it for 2 years. And that morning, I was like, I got to clear that damn driveway. And I took my chainsaw, and I took a few hours, and I cleared the whole length. There's a long dirt driveway through the woods. I cleared the whole thing so emergency vehicles could get in. And a few hours, like 3 hours later, I was dying. So
imagine if you didn't do that.
Well, exactly, right? And so the thing is, like, the body, I think, can communicate with the unconscious mind. And then the unconscious mind tries to communicate with the conscious mind, but your conscious mind's a freaking idiot, right? And it doesn't take little hints. It doesn't take clues. Bomb it with pain, it ignores it. Bomb it with dreams, it's like, wow, that was weird.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, your body's trying to keep you alive, and it sent me out there with a chainsaw. And I don't, I'm actively avoidant of mystical explanations for things, but I honestly don't know how to explain any of the process. That must be very hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that common that comedians take their own lives. I mean, it does happen.
Yeah.
Like with Robin. Robin was a big one for a lot of people because he was not just a comedian. He was like a cultural icon in terms of like his films. You think of all the different movies like I was in, and he had such a range too. That's when you like, to me, when you know how brilliant a person really is. Like, do you remember that film that he did about the crazy film processing guy? It was like 24-hour film. You remember those little film booths, photo booths that people would go to? You bring back in the old days, you youngsters. We would have a camera, and the camera would have film in it, and you'd have to bring the film to a place for processing. And Robin Williams did a film about a guy who was a psychopath who was obsessed with someone from processing their picture. 1 hour photo. That's what it was.
Nice.
It was fucking great. And you just, from that film, you realize the range this man had.
Right.
You know, I mean, from Good Will Hunting, from, so many different. Yeah, he was a genius.
Yeah, and the human race is so lucky to have geniuses in it. You know what I mean? Like, we all feed off them.
Yeah, we do. They elevate us,
and it costs them sometimes. But we need those people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to be a guy like that, to be just dealing with the kind of RPMs he was dealing with, just he would spit out these amazing works, but just a cost on himself.
In Good Morning Vietnam, in the initial few minutes, like, it's pretty clear that it wasn't scripted because there's this like kid in the control booth. I mean, the conceit is that it's a military DJ, a radio announcer during Vietnam, right? And the military command didn't really like him because he was saying things that were sort of like not sufficiently sort of respectful of the war or whatever. But of course, the troops loved him. Right. He was a real guy, right? And so Robin Williams, it was pretty clear if you watch the beginning. It's worth watching. That it wasn't scripted because the kid in the sound booth behind him, you could watch him react to this like 3-minute like the outpouring from Robin Williams where he's like channeling different people and it's all coming out. It's totally insane.
Yeah.
And this kid can't even stand up. He's laughing so hard. I'm like, that's not acting.
Right.
That's a guy who actually had no idea this was coming.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I met him only once, and I met him after one of my shows. I didn't know I was talking to him until a couple minutes into the conversation. He had a crazy big white beard, and he waited in line with everybody else to meet me. Wow. And I was talking to him, and he was telling, I was saying, oh, I love this bit, I love that, and I love how you put that together. I was like, oh, thanks, man. Thanks, Awesome. I'm like, holy shit, this is Robin Williams.
That's
like,
great.
I didn't know. I literally had no idea until like several minutes into our conversation.
He must have loved that.
That was pretty cool, man.
That's very cool.
It was cool that, he, first of all, it was cool that he just went to the show by himself.
Right.
He decided he wanted to come see me. Maybe somebody told him I was funny, and he came and then he waited in line to meet me, and then wanted to talk about individual bits and how he loved how I put this one together and that one. It was crazy. It was like I realized in the middle of it, I'm like, oh my God.
That's awesome.
It was pretty wild. But that just shows you what kind of thoughtful person he was.
Yeah.
He wasn't into being seen. In fact, he had a baseball hat on.